shift the prism of that advice to the political candidates, because obviously that's a different situation. And let me focus on Ron DeSantis, because he has been very much, the flag bearer, I guess you'd say, of the culture war, certainly when it comes to parental rights. Is that perilous? Because ultimately, to win, he's going to have to win as president of the United States. Is there a risk of him over-indexing, or any of these candidates over-indexing too much on the trends you talk about?
Well, I do think DeSantis has invested heavily in go woke, go broke. And if I were him, I'd start investing in a balanced budget program, an immigration program, a crime program. I think he's letting himself be pigeonholed as a cultural warrior rather than someone who ran a major state through a number of crises, now has to convince voters that he's the person who should be entrusted with handling the economy. And so I think his campaign is frankly a little off base and has put too much emphasis on these issues. You know, when the voters, if you ask them, what's your number one issue? Inflation.
Yeah. Are any of the candidates, you've mentioned Tim Scott, Chris Christie's in the race, are any of them focused on the issues that you think are going to ultimately determine who gets to be in the Oval Office next?
I think Tim Scott has the most optimistic platform that I think will definitely strike a resonant chord. I think I saw an interview with Chris Christie yesterday, and all he said was like, Donald Trump can't win, I can. And I think that's the worst argument for these candidates to be making. You have to show you can win by showing you have ideas to lead. That whatever you think of Trump in his first campaign, he had a bunch of ideas on trade, on dealing with China, and serious ideas, and they were critical to how he catapulted himself. I don't think these Republican candidates understand that. They think it's just through, how you attack or counterattack or say you're going to win and he can't. That's not what attracts voters.
Is the best strategy to ignore Donald Trump right now? I mean, let's just take from political candidates from that. I mean, because obviously there's oxygen that's going into these campaigns for various reasons. What would your advice be as a strategist to any of these folks?
At this phase of a campaign, you get your money in shape, you get your platform in shape, and you test out your platform, you test out your rap, and you make sure that it resonates with voters, so that by the end of the summer, you are really ready to hit the ground running and ready to build a constituency. You also build up your political organization during this period.
What about for the incumbent, that being our current president?
The incumbent? Well, the incumbent is doing a pretty good job so far of keeping other candidates out. But what he needs to do is get his numbers up 5 points. I think he did a good job with the debt deal. I think he should get some credit for that. I think if he can get his numbers up 5 points, he's going to sail into the nomination. If by the end of the summer he's still at 41, I wouldn't be surprised if someone like Gavin Newsom got in and challenged him for the nomination, because his numbers against Trump will continue to sink. He won't have a realistic chance of winning. No president in the low 40s, I think, could get reelected.
Yeah.
And that will be obvious.